Welcome to the Thought Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Isabella Sanchez Castaneda. Let's jump right in. Today, I'm joined by Iyanna Vaughn, and we are going to dive in to money. The thing that we all are like, we want it, but we can't claim that we want it, or we got stories around it, or we are always chasing it or something, right? All of us are thinking about money in one way, shape, or form in this world in order to really impact. And you are a thought leader in the realm of money, but specifically cash flow. And I want to just jump right in. What is that main thing that business owners are not thinking about when it comes to their business and cash flow?
So first, thank you so much for having me, Isabella. The main thing is people think that the profit, like their bottom line, should be the same as their cash on hand, right? You know, if you have cash coming in, right, you have your expenses going out, and you have like your bottom line. A lot of times we're like, why don't we see it in our bank account? Like, what is the difference, right? So to explain that, there's like a lot of different movement that cash, there's like a movement that cash travels in your business, even outside of the glamorous income statement, or I like to call it the profit and loss statement, whatever you like to call it. There's things that happen outside of that report that impacts your cash on hand. So first, just to kind of have like a quick overview of cash flow, right? So we have cash, your starting bank account, everything that comes in to your business, whether it be revenue, whether it be you investing in your business through contribution, like you're contributing to your business, whether it be like a loan deposit that comes in, you get a grant, all those nice things, right? And then everything that goes out is your expenses, of course, we all know that. But then outside of that, it's your whatever you pay yourself. If you are a single member LLC, which is taxed as a sole proprietor, your whatever you pay yourself is not an expense. So you pay yourself out of the profits, right? So when you take that out, it impacts your cash flow, as well as you paying off debt. If you have a credit card here, or if you have like a loan that you're paying off, that impacts your cash, right? And then after all the cash going in, all the cash going out is what is called a net cash change. And that produces your end cash balance.
We will put a disclaimer. None of this is financial or legal advice. Please
Right.
go hire. Make sure you have a bookkeeper. Okay. But I think that that's so key to just even know, like all of those different terms that you just said, bringing it into people's awareness that there is so much more going on in your business than just, I made a 10K launch, I made a 100K launch, like, is it sales, is it revenue? And I think like all of these words are just swirling around. And it can be intimidating for people. So I want to actually go back and I want to understand your initial story into why is this your calling? Why is helping people with their cash flow and their financials your calling? And what was that moment that really pushed you into it?
Okay, so I love to share this story. So I don't have the typical like accounting degree to like corporate to entrepreneurship pipeline. So my story is extremely different. So get ready, grab some tea. So so before I went to college, I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to be like a psychologist, and my family was like, "No, they don't get money. Do like nursing." I'm like, "Y'all called me Butterfingers all my life, and y'all think that I should be a nurse? Like how is that gonna happen?" So I So what I decided to do was major in healthcare management, and that is the business, of course, of healthcare. And I took a few accounting classes, and I was the weird one. I fell in love with accounting. Like I was so like, oh my gosh, this is a whole story of a business based on a financial report. And I was like volunteering on weekends to help like other classmates like understand what's going on, pass tests and things like that. And funny enough, like I was towards the end of my college career, so I was like, let me just finish this degree and then come back to accounting because I had hopes to be a CFO at a hospital one day. And in college, I ended up getting pregnant towards the end. So I was like, okay, I got a few classes left. I was graduating in the summer, and every trimester I was adding on a job. I was over here working 3 jobs in my third trimester, and I graduated in the summer technically, but I walked in graduation that December. A few weeks later, I had my daughter. So I just turned 23. I was like, okay, Iyanna, you just had your daughter, you want to go back to school. However, you have a newborn and you were at three jobs, barely making anything, okay? So it's like, what is the plan here? So I became and this is not random. This is something that my family was doing. My family was doing like host. Technically, the word is a host parent to adults with developmental disability. So I decided to be a host parent because it was a way for me to kind of be at home, kind of like I was so stressed out working 3 jobs pregnant and having a newborn. It just was not the best for me to kind of go right back into the workforce with her being so young and me not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do career wise. So essentially, on the other side of it, while I was able to be kind of like a stay at home mom and be able to help the clients that I did have, I was able to advocate for them and help them be able to like be as independent as possible in their own right with their own, with their activities and things of that nature. I was still a little overwhelmed, essentially a mom of 3 overnight. And I was like, let me kind of do something for myself. So I started to do like blogging and like crafts and things like that. And this was in like 2015. And I was online and I was like, wait, woman out here making money online, are you kidding me? Like, what? I was like, this is so impressive and beautiful, but the thing that they were really afraid of was money. And I was like, wait, I know this. Like, this is super easy. I was able to help classmates with this. I was passing I was making A's in my accounting classes, and I was like, wait, what if I actually did this as a business? And I was just researching like becoming a bookkeeper, and I found a course of basically like a bookkeeping business in a box. And it was helping me to kind of conceptualize everything that I learned in those accounting courses, but to create an actual business from it. So if you knew me before this business, you would never think that I would have a business. Like, I was really shy. I was like not someone to kind of create something out of nothing. I was a hustler though, as you see, I worked all those jobs. But I would never think that I would have a business. So I just invested in myself secretly. I was like, y'all not about to talk me out of it. I was getting talked out of it at the time. So I invested in it. And my first few clients were bloggers, and I was filling in gaps at a time that kind of made sense. So the first gap was making sure that the bookkeeping was done so that they have an easier tax season, right? Without having to scramble and put something together to provide to their tax accountant. And then it was like, okay, this is great. Great tax season. Next gap was, what are these numbers telling me? And I was like, okay, I'm glad you asked. So I started to do advising. I had like monthly meetings with clients, and I would advise them on like what's actually going on, or really help them analyze what's actually going on for all of their 3 reports. So just to plug this in, the 3 reports are the income statement, like we talked about, aka the profit and loss statement. And then we have the balance sheet, which is what you own in assets, what you owe in liabilities, and then what's left over in equity. I was telling them exactly how all these things came together. And finally was the statement of cash flows. And that shows like your operating activities, your financing activities, your investing activities, and it shows the beginning and ending balance of your cash on hand. So kind of putting all those things together and helping them understand what was going on. And what's so cool is like clients have been able to kind of tell me what they're seeing based off of like working with me for quite some time. But after that gap was filled, right? The next gap was, okay, what do I do with this information? What is going on? So being that I niched to like bloggers and online business owners, I was able to tap in and see, okay, hey, like specific strategies that help them improve their financial picture, but then also bringing it back to like, what are your actual personal goals? Like if you have a specific revenue goal, how do we reverse engineer it and like make it into a reality? And how do we like craft like the perfect pricing for you and things of that nature? So long-winded answer to how I got here. I was just filling in these gaps as it came naturally. And to this day, we do more fractional CFO level services where we help our clients like maintain their cash flow, increase their profits, but most importantly, really create a business that serves them. After they serve humanity, after they serve God's children, serve yourself, because that's why you created your business, right? To help others, but then also help you and your family. So, yeah.
That's so wonderful. And something that sticks out to me is that you started wanting to be a therapist. And while you are not a therapist, we're not, they have
Right,
their own
right.
lane. You do help people not only understand their profit as a number, but as a story and as a feeling and as a mindset. And so when was it that you found that gap being the mindset gap for your clients?
That's such a good question. I feel like it was naturally from the beginning, right? Because I believe that I'm not going to help you with your money mindset overnight, but I could at least get you to neutral if you, at bare minimum, understand what's going on and you can actually face it. So when I started to have clients, like, actually, they didn't want to get on the call with me, but when they did, they're like, all right, let me just actually just face this. And if we did this consistently and they put in the work to like show up to those meetings, they became neutral. And eventually, as I would understand like the habits that people formed, now I'm like, okay, I can identify your attachment style with money based on things that you say. So while it started in the beginning, I didn't really put a lot of intention and really honing in on attachment style to like really recently. It was like I always received feedback of like, hey, you made me, understand money and feel a little bit more comfortable. And now I kind of think about things versus like feeling bad about it. But now I'm like, okay, how can I really intentionally provide, I guess, some like money mindset shifts to clients intentionally versus just like, oh yeah, this actually happened. It was a nice surprise. So yeah.
So we need to dive into what these attachment styles look like with money.
Yeah.
because because I'm already like, oh, I think I know mine. Um right? So I really appreciate that you are willing to go there with your clients, but from a perspective of like, we are going to look, we are going to know, but then we're going to deal with the emotion that comes up because I am, a faith-based person. I'm a spiritual person. I love manifestation, but we got to know where we're starting from. And I think sometimes that can be used as avoidance, or that could be used as like, well, if I keep saying affirmations, then it's a little bit anxious. And so just walk me through. Okay. How does someone know which attachment style they have with money?
This is such a great question. So a lot of times your attachment style kind of aligns with your relationship attachment style. So secure attachment style, right? You believe that you deserve money and you believe that others are able to pay you that money, or they see you as worthy of providing or of engaging in a financial exchange, right? That's secure. That's where we want to be. However, there are things that happen in life that do not cause that. So we have first the avoidant, right?
They're not
You
looking at
will,
those cash
we're
flows.
not looking at nothing. We say we are Ray Charles to this financial report. We are not looking at it, okay? We are not looking at it.
Oh no. Okay. And then what do they do?
So when you're avoidant, right, you just kind of swish it away. You're not going to look at it. You know exactly what's going on, but let's just do some other things, some other busy work and procrastinate so that you don't have to deal with money. Right. So when it comes to avoidant attachment style, I'll plug in a book that I read. I forgot the name of it at the top of my head, but I'll share that link with you after. But when you are avoidant, you believe that you deserve money in a way, but you don't believe that others are able to like provide you that money, right? Like you don't believe that they are able to have that exchange. So you just avoid it so that you can protect yourself from not being hurt in love, but then also with money, right? That shows up in the same way. And then we have anxious attachment style. There's different nuances, but just overall, right? You feel that you don't deserve money. However, you feel that others are able to provide that financial exchange, but you're not worthy of it, right?
Mm.
It's like they're able to do it. Yes, yes. However, I don't feel like I deserve it. And that's when you have that clinginess, right? Like as soon as you get something, spent. And because you have that scarcity mindset that it's not going to last, you don't trust yourself. But since it's here, let me just go ahead and swipe like Fruit Ninja and then be and then next thing you know, it's done. I'm laughing because I have been there before too, right? Like this is I've been there before, right? So then we have disorganized. And when I read the book, because in 2021, I read the attachment style book because I was trying to heal my own relationship attachment style. But when I read it and I did a little quiz, it told me I was disorganized. I'm like, wait, what?
You're like, I'm a bookkeeper.
Right, like, girl. But this is for romantic relationships, but I feel that I see how it shows up in money as well. And I'll share with you all like how that came up for me money wise, despite working with money every single day. But with your disorganized attachment style, you don't believe that you deserve money, and you definitely don't believe that you deserve to be provided for or given money as an exchange, right? So you show both. You avoid sometimes, and you're anxious sometimes, and simultaneously you're kind of all over the place. And what was so interesting is this was my romantic relationship style or attachment style that I found out doing the little quiz, and I found like, oh, okay, this is kind of how I am with finances because it's like I know money, so it's like I could avoid it and then I could do like something really quick and then I'm good. And then it's like, okay, I could get the money and then I could like spend it really quick. And then it's like, oh, I know how to hustle and get it right back, right? But it's like you don't have to hustle yourself to death. I promise you, you don't, because you can have stability with your money by, and this is another, I have like a philosophy when it comes to like balancing your masculine and feminine energy when it comes to money. Let me kind of finish up with with attachment style. So when I'm able to talk to others and I hear kind of like what their habits are, because I have experience with both, right? And I know what it looks like to do habits in both of those areas or all of those areas and secure, right? I'm able to ask questions to not really probe too much, but just kind of ask questions and then kind of ask other questions to see like how can someone come up with like the whatever I'm thinking. I don't want to put it on that person because that wouldn't be fair to them, but more so how can they identify that whatever they're experiencing with money is a mirror of how they are in relationship with money or relationships in general or things that came up in childhood that they haven't mastered, you know? And without turning into a therapy session, which sometimes it does, of course, they know I'm not a therapist, but it does turn into like a therapy session. I'm always asking like, hey, have you, are you seeing your therapist to kind of like continue this conversation here? But I really want to get more in detail on these attachment styles because it really helps identify like what's going on and why you're doing it. And then how can we create secure habits to produce better financial stability in not only your business, but your life overall.
The people listening to this, I need you guys to DM us and tell us what attachment style you
in the
are.
group chat. Okay, put it in the group chat.
We'll put it in the group chat. Because I do think that it's so interesting. In previous conversations that I've had with financial professionals, there is this tendency to say it's just numbers. It's numbers, it's math, it's profit and loss, it's plus and minus, multiplication, addition, subtraction. But there is so much emotion and there's so much there about our worthiness. But then when we start bringing up that conversation, you go and you swing the pendulum to the complete opposite side, where it's people who are like, don't look at the money, just believe, just believe, just believe. And I think that there's this really interesting intersection that you're at where you want people to do both. You want people to heal and do the math. And I think that that's so powerful. And you were kind of mentioning that, it can look in so many different ways. It can be healing in so many different ways. It could be, you could turn to your Bible and get your healing that way. You could turn to a more, universe manifestation spirituality and get your healing that way. But you're looking at the numbers the whole time.
Right.
And so how is like, do you find that one style is more common than the other among your clients, among online business owners?
Ooh, it's really a split between a lot of avoidance for sure. And I'm just want to like really preface this by saying like this is no judgment like at all. Like I've seen everything and I've experienced a lot as well, right? So I've seen a lot of avoidance for sure. And then that anxious for it's like really split. It's really split, honestly, if I was to really think about it. And a lot of things that I've seen as of late is with the economy changing, people are more anxious and they feel as if their expertise isn't enough. So they overinvest in a lot of different things that they're not able to implement on, unfortunately. So I think now definitely anxious, more so avoidant, but I could overall it's like a good split.
So if we were to give a first step, like a baby step to each
hmm
attachment style, what does an avoidant attachment style with money need to do to kind of start healing that?
Ooh, this is such a juicy question. I've never been asked this.
I'm so curious because I mean, I think it's easy. My assumption would be like, we'll start looking at your numbers, but I don't know if that's too simplistic.
So the first thing I want to go into my philosophy about managing money by balancing your feminine and masculine energy, because that ties into like that first step. So, on the masculine side, when it comes to money, it's really about knowing, leading, and automating, right? You can't go anywhere until you know you can't like until you lead it and then you automate it so that you can kind of have your money work for itself, right? So mastering that would be the first thing. And then on the feminine side, right, it's your ability to be able to like first attract, right, and then enjoy and magnify. So you're attracting people when you work, right, by your appearance and like your message, and then you're attracting money because you believe you deserve it. Like when someone is a little girl who's well loved, she attracts love. And when I think of attraction in that way, of course, it's not for let's just say young lady. A young lady is attracting money. She just knows she's going to get provided for. Like that's just is what it is, right? It's that belief. However, there needs to be that masculine side of it. And then when she's attracted that money, she gets to enjoy it versus like putting it away. Let's just put it away, and then I can't spend a dime. I have to nickel and dime every single thing. It's like you enjoy it freely. You give freely because you will receive freely. And then magnetize it is once you've been able to like attract and joy, you get to magnify it because now you help others based off of your energy. So understanding those concepts will help you with the first step. So the first step when it comes to avoiding is actually knowing what's going on. And that could be with someone like me to help you. So say if you're behind in like your bookkeeping and you're like, okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay, let's just do a bookkeeping cleanup. And then what we'll do with you is provide you in a money education session. And with that, you're able to face it with someone together so that you know exactly what's going on versus looking at it and then you don't even know what's going on and you're guessing and then you're overwhelmed because you don't know what's going on. So first thing with avoid it, look at it, understand it. Once you look at it and understand it, you're able to say, okay, I could at least conquer this. This money ain't gonna overpower me. It is just money. And when it comes to someone who's anxious, that person endures a little bit too much of their money because there's no provision. So not only do you need to know what's going on, you need to know what you lead it. You need to lead your money so that you know where it's supposed to go. Lead it in a way where you take care of your fixed expenses, your bills, all those things, right? But then have something carved out for enjoyment so that you can have spending that is guilt free.
And I think it's so interesting because you were mentioning before about anxious specifically. There's the anxious that will like squirrel things away and say, oh, I can't spend this because I don't know when the next one is coming. And then you have the anxious person who is spending because they're like, I don't know when it's gonna come again, so it's gotta go. But both are the same type of attachment style. And it might be even like setting boundaries with how much you look at your money, because I feel like anxious attachment style might, be looking at the P&L every day and tracking that way. So
Mm. I'm
yeah.
so glad you mentioned that. So in episode 6 of my podcast, I talked about like getting out of desperation of sales, and that involved decentering money, right? Money, cool, that's great. That you need money to survive in your business, right? Survive overall, but we need to decenter it. Just like women are talking about decentering men, like because we make it an idol, we obsess over it. The same thing with money. When you have that attachment style and you're looking at things over and over, or when you have a sales call and you're looking at your Stripe, refreshing it, or your proposal dashboard and you're refreshing it, that's anxious in a way where you don't believe that you're worthy of it. So you're just gonna try to just prove yourself right in your mind. You don't think that, but like subconsciously, you're trying to prove yourself right that you don't deserve this sale or money when you kind of obsess over it. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because there is a boundary that needs to be taken place. I do believe that you need to look at it more than once a month. You could look at it once a week as far as like your report. And I think at least looking at your bank account once a day, just kind of saying, okay, this is what happened yesterday. Like, say, a part of your morning routine after you kind of do like your spiritual stuff, like your faith stuff, like your health stuff. Look at your money, just kind of see where you are, both business and personal, and just kind of see what's going on, just so that you can kind of get a groove of like what transpires, right? And with the boundary, have a new zero. Like, don't spend till you get to zero. Spend till you get to your new zero. Maybe that zero, if you're um, just like feel overwhelmed with kind of creating it, going from 0 to 1,000, maybe it's 100, maybe then you build it to 250, maybe it's 500. And once you get it to like ideally like a month's worth of your expenses, and you kind of know that you can automate like, oh, okay, I know I have a month's worth of expenses eventually, right? We're not saying overnight at all. Then you know what you can and cannot spend.
Yeah, it's just so interesting to think of it in these ways of like, think about it as boundaries, think of it as setting these minimums, setting these standards. And we're talking about money, but we could be talking about so many other things. And how I know people love to say like entrepreneurship can be one of your greatest healing journeys, and it's like, it's because of this. Like, it's because like
Hmm.
the worthiness and the deserving is going to come up at every angle. And it's just so interesting that it also requires having a place to look at it, and that often does require having someone along with you. So what does that look like? What kind of support can people invest in through you?
So with us, I own the bookkeeping and fractional CFO firm called Lovely Financials Group. So we help our clients with both bookkeeping and fractional CFO services. So with bookkeeping, we do, of course, the numbers, the day-to-day activities with the data entry, create reports for you, and we'll send them as not just like a little spreadsheet, but a visual financial report so that you can digest it, and we'll highlight the top categories in which we want you to look at. And then each quarter, you'll meet with myself or one of my accountants to kind of go over the past quarter, and then answer your questions, and then create like new goals for that next quarter. And this is great for business owners who have, not a lot going on. It's just like, okay, I just need my numbers. I need to kind of have a session each quarter to kind of go over it. I just need it every month, right? And then we have fractional CFO services where we do our intensive. So previously we had our profit planning intensive, and I was thinking, you know what, we want to really help you shift your mindset. So we turned it into our fractional CFO services, where we work with you at least 6 months to really dig into your financial habits as well as your personal goals. So your immediate lifestyle goals and creating legacy goals, so that we can create a business and trajectory for the next 3 years, not just a year, not just a quarter. So we go through the first 12 weeks working together, getting all your financial foundation set up or optimized if you already have like your bookkeeping system. So we like to look at your report, or create your reports based off of your needs as a CEO, not just off of the tax return. Of course, it aligns with the tax return, but if you are looking at things with like one line item for revenue, and it's like, okay, you have different offerings, like how can we understand or help you understand how each of them are performing against each other so that you know what to put your effort in whenever you launch, or if there needs to be a pivot for any of your launches. And then same thing with team members, having one line item for like your different team members. I've found not necessarily helpful when we're analyzing the report and seeing like all of your different investments and how like helping you keep accountable of it implementing, and also like your team management. So with our fractional CFO services, we do our 12 weeks together. We go over like your revenue planning. And this is where I have fun because we create your revenue goals for the next year. And then based on those goals, I'll create for the next 2 years. And then we do a profit planning session where we kind of go over, okay, this was your revenue, here's your investments and expenses, this is your profit. But before then, I forgot to mention the most important part. We do a weekly cash flow forecast so that we know how your cash is operating each and every week for the next 52 weeks for the year. And so say if you want to invest in something, let's put this into the cash flow forecast, right? So we could objectively see how it impacts us, but then also how can we energetically how to make it so that your cash on hand is healthy. And then after we do our profit planning session, we'll do like a tax strategy call where based off of your improved profits, here's what your tax liability should look like, and here are some tax strategies that we can help you implement so that throughout the year to reduce your tax liability legally. And with that, we kind of put that all together within the first 12 weeks so that we can knock that out. And then each month we'll meet with our clients and we're able to like shift, pivot, give you a variance of what we projected. And what's so cool is you're looking at things years in advance. And I did a intensive with a client and we accurately predicted her revenue like 2 years later. And I was like, yeah, it was so cool because we were able to like pivot some tax strategy at the end of the year for her. So it's like underrated to really understand where your business is going for not just this year, but the next few years.
It's so powerful. And it's so powerful to have a partner in this conversation, both for the mindset and energetic side, as well as the logistics, the numbers, that getting done, and you knowing that it's getting done well is so amazing. So thank you for telling us about that. Thank you for coming in and enlightening us on all of this. And where can people connect with you?
Yes. Well, first, thank you for having me. People can connect with me at lovelyfinancials.com as well as Instagram at lovelyfinancials. And finally, on my podcast, Harmonious Wealth, where I will share episodes on how to heal with your money and also practical tips to improve your personal wealth while you run your business.
Amazing. Please go check out that podcast. Go check out Lovely Financials. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.